What about energy?
Oh, energy. How are you guys going to create alternative energy sources and make it affordable for middle class families?
Okay, I can't. No one can just create alternate energy sources. Energy is here because God has created the energy, the sun, wind, wave power, whatever it is. We have to learn how to harness it. That can't be done overnight. And currently, we're having to take money from other citizens to subsidize those things because we think, oh, that would be wonderful if we had wind energy or if we had solar energy. Just taking money and throwing it at the problem won't solve the problem. It's going to take universities studying it and private enterprise developing it for it to be a viable alternative.
Well, I have a question about the energy. I mean, as far as living in the society that we live in today, every 2 to 4 years we have a new PCU coming out, touchscreen computers. How is it possible that they can come out with these advanced computers, these advanced cell phones, but they can't come up with a different or, a different energy alternative? I'm pretty sure it's not as hard as making something as complex as a PCU.
Well, it is kind of complex. It is. I mean, if you want to study that, that would be great. But I'm saying there are people like Solyndra. Solyndra was supposed to be cutting edge, supposed to be producing solar energy. But they turned out to be a fraud. They turned out to go bankrupt. Unless they had government money coming in, they couldn't sustain. So it's not a viable energy source yet. And I've known people that put in solar power panels, and they had lots of problems with them. I'm not saying we shouldn't have those things. We need to develop them. But you don't need to take money from someone who's worked hard for that money and now say it's government money. Now we're going to spend it however we want to.
But don't they do that anyway with as far as government assisting programs, giving families? I mean, I can understand them giving families who actually need the government funding to support their families. But then again, they're not creating enough core jobs for people who have master degrees in these certain fields, and they don't have. It's not that they don't want a job, they just can't find one. And I mean, we need to increase the jobs in order for us to increase the economy, because people without jobs won't buy anything.
You're absolutely right. That is perfect. I agree with you. The problem is government doesn't create jobs. See, there's a segment of our society that are statists. They want bigger government. They think that government is the answer to all of our problems, when it's not. Government spending money does not produce jobs. If the government left you with more of your paycheck, then you would maybe be able to produce a job, to create a job. It's us out here that creates jobs. Government doesn't create jobs. And you're right. They are taking money from us for all kinds of silly things. Some of it seems like a good thing, some of it's not a good thing, but the Constitution tells the government what they can and cannot spend it on, but they have stretched what's called the Commerce Clause, they call it the Elastic Clause, over all kinds of stuff. And they continue, like you say, take money from us to spend it on things that don't produce jobs, and that even if it's a good idea, the federal government doesn't need to be involved in it. They take trainloads of our money to Washington. They build a building designed to last 1,000 years, fill it full of bureaucrats that you can't fire, and then they send a little bit of that money back, little bit of it, and they say, now that you've received federal money, we're going to tell you what you can and can't do. They can take away our freedoms. So that's the thing. I want you to have more of your money. I'm for the fair tax, where you only pay tax when you buy something. Just like you do now to pay sales tax, you would pay a federal sales tax. It's called the fair tax. You get your whole paycheck. They don't take out for Social Security. They don't take out for Medicare.
As far as Social Security, now I understand Social Security is a system built for people who have been working a certain amount of years.
Right.
But by the time I'm 60 years old, I guarantee you I won't have Social Security. So what type of plan would they have for the people, for the students like me, like seniors going off to college and we're about to get careers? How would they open up opportunities for us to sit back and relax when we're at the age to where we can't really work anymore?
Right. That's important. When we get to that age where we can't work, we need someone to help us. Well, we're going to have to make other investments, but we don't need to send it to Washington. Washington, like I said, right now, have spent almost $16 trillion. And the government takes in $9 billion a day. I'm sorry, $5 billion a day. They spend $9 billion a day. So we're going into debt on the national credit card $4 billion a day. Think if they didn't run that debt up. They are taking money from your children and my children, your grandchildren and my grandchildren. They are spending their money right now. We're borrowing money from China so we can give foreign aid to China. Think if we could stop them spending so much money and leave the money, more of the money, with you. We need a federal government. We just don't need such a big federal government.
Yeah, I think the government being less involved with people's lives would make a big difference, because if you, say this family is receiving welfare and they're getting this certain amount, when they were like, okay, well, I'm comfortable with that. And I think they should set up some type of requirement for them to go to school, or trade school, something like that, in order to put them back into the working field and increase the employment rate, because if you increase the employment rate, you increase the more money that the public has to spend, you increase more jobs, then you'll have a never-ending system of the increase of jobs. And that's the only thing that I'm really worried about, not increasing small jobs as in jobs making minimum wage, because you can't support a family making minimum wage, right, especially in this economy that we're in right now. I mean, like you said, we are $16 trillion $16 trillion in debt. And one of the candidates recently said that it would take 67 years for us to get out of that debt.
That was me.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, in 67 years, who says that debt isn't going to increase?
It will be. It will be bigger, because the government doesn't know when to stop spending money. We've got to put the government, the federal government, on a biggest loser diet, because they're bloated and they're spending more, and they're taking money from you and I and our children even now and spending it already.
What are they spending it on?
Exactly. Well, have you seen the news lately? GSA spent almost $800,000 on a lavish trip to Las Vegas. Okay, President Obama spent $500 million on Solyndra, about $1 billion, I think, on SunPower, another energy company. This is wasted money. It's money that doesn't produce anything.
Solyndra and the others, what is it called?
SunPower.
SunPower, are they helping the public or middle class? Are they contributing anything to us?
No. They were trying to develop solar power, and they were trying to get government money to develop solar power. It's a pipe dream. It's something that doesn't exist yet. It doesn't exist to the level that it's commercially viable. So it's wasted money. The government is constantly wasting our money. Back in the 1930s, there was an organization started called Rural Electric Administration, REA. Now it's RUS, Rural Utility Services. It's for putting electricity out in the country. Who in the country now doesn't have electricity? Have you ever seen a road that doesn't have power lines?
No, I've never seen a road that doesn't have power lines.
Right, and if you live so far out in the woods that you can't get power, aren't there generators?
I've actually been into a very country part. It's called Poplarville, Mississippi, and the roads are extremely long, and still I see power lines out there. There's nobody who doesn't have power lines. There's acres between each house, but everybody has power.
So, exactly. So why is the government spending billions of dollars to put power out in the country? It doesn't make sense. They're wasting money. They don't know how to quit spending money. The government is addicted to spending our money.
Oh, I could definitely agree with that.